As I said on Monday, we are not doing Pinocchio in Space this week. We are doing the Rocky Horror Picture Show sequel, Shock Treatment. Now, when this came out, Richard O'Brien, who co-wrote it and wrote the lyrics to all the songs and had a strong part in it, said it's not a sequel, it's not a prequel, it's an equal. He later recanted that and said it was an abortion. It was a commercial and critical failure when it came out. One of Roger Ebert's early reviews said pretty much he hated the movie. I would like to do one of Robert Ebert's movies he directed eventually on this show, because I've seen a couple of them and they're not that good for a guy who knew a bunch about movies. But that is off topic. As I said, it was a commercial and critical failure, but it has found an audience in modern day as a good riff or a good parody on reality TV, because the movie entirely takes place in a TV studio where it is pretty much reality TV in this TV studio, except it shows scripts, but some of the people do not have access to these scripts. And so that is Shock Treatment. Now, it does have some good songs in it. My favorite is either Bitchin' in the Kitchen or the song that Brad and Farley Flavors, who are played by the same guy, sing to each other. And yes, he does two different singing voices during this song. Sing to each other near the end. Those are probably my two favorite songs, besides the song by the actual band, which is an actual band and an actual song that band sung. Now, it starts out with the guy introducing us to pretty much the character of Farley Flavors and telling us that he wants a girl. Then they let the studio audience in. And the studio audience sings Denton's anthem. Denton is the name of the town that I guess is just one big TV studio. And then we meet Betty, and I think his name is Wilbur, but might be Orville. I'm not real sure. But he's Denton's leading social scientist who are doing Denton dossier. And yes, they later get fired. And then we go and meet the blind guy, the blind German guy, who this movie took place in the 80s. He looks like he's about in his 60s. So do the math how he got blind. And he takes up Brad and Janet, the only two people coming back, the only two characters returning from Rocky Horror. This is about them again. They're not played by the same people because Susan Sarandon wanted too much money, and the guy who originally played Brad was doing a television show. And he sends Brad to Dentonvale, which is a show about a psychiatric hospital. And this is when Bitchin' in the Kitchen is sang. We then see Brad being checked into Dentonvale, with Janet reluctant to sign him over as a patient. But then we see the blind German guy with Janet's parents making them guess Brad's syndrome, which they eventually guess infantile regression syndrome. Which I would not have guessed with Brad, because I'd never seen him sucking his thumb, chewing a pacifier, or puking in a diaper, though that is a sexual fetish now. but they get a home in the studio for winning this, which we see Janet then go to, and then her dad breaks into a jumpy little number about being a real man, which I hate to tell him, real men don't just break out into song while mowing the lawn. At least I've never seen one do it. But maybe they do. I mean, I sleep during the day most of the time. Then we see Janet being brought forth to Dentonvale again to see Brad, but Farley Flavors, the richest man in town who's opening a think tank and sponsoring Dentonvale, talks Janet into going with him and being his new big star. She still wants to see Brad, but they tell her, no, you have to stay overnight in Dentonvale. But she gets an actual bedroom with a shower and stuff, unlike normal loony bins, where you get an actual bedroom with a shower and stuff. At least the two I've been in. They don't just like lock you in a room and have you bounce off the rubber room walls. They have those. That's called the quiet room. And yes, they sometimes do strap you down. I've never been in one, but they've shown me one because I asked. And then Janet gets a little black dress and sings a catchy little number all about me, which I could totally see Miss Piggy singing at any time. And everybody goes crazy for Janet. And then Janet's parents try to get Brad out, but everybody sings a number, the shock treatment number, which is what the movie is named after. And they all say, screw you, Brad, we're going to go be stars. Which most people say when they got a loved one in a mental health asylum. So Janet's now got a big head. And she wants to be this big, huge star. So they drug her so she can get the star treatment. Because the star treatment involves a lot of drugs. Just ask Robert Downey Jr. So then they introduce her to Farley Flavors, who looks just like Brad. So they drug her some more. And then we get the show's ending where Betty and the social scientist are trying to break Brad out and realize that the leader of the Dentonvale are just con artists. And they're trying to break Brad out. Well, while Janet is drugged and Farley Flavors is trying to lead everybody to Dentonvale, is introducing the world to his new think tank. And eventually Brad bursts through a wall, and you have the song between Brad and Farley Flavors. And then Brad, Janet, Betty, and the social scientist all get locked up. The band just disappears. They just fade into the wall, which, by the way, is a real band power. Farley Flavors then decides to leave everyone to Dentonvale, and they're throwing out straitjackets to everyone. And then, after everyone's gone, Betty gets him out of the prison with a hairpin. They sing about doing it. Everyone's in Dentonvale in straitjackets. The two doctors are just thrown out in cash fights, just throwing cash back and forth. And Janet, Brad, Betty, the social scientist, and the band drive out of the studio into the fog in the convertible. And that's the movie. It's got some decent songs in it. It kind of makes fun of reality TV. It's kind of enjoyable. Nowhere near as good as Rocky Horror. and it has nothing to do with Pride, and it's supposed to be my Pride movie. So should have done the Rocky Horror remake, but I didn't. But it's pretty good, and it's on YouTube. There are several different versions on YouTube. YouTube's putting a lot more commercials on during these movies. So join me next week where we're going to do a very special 4th of July movie. We are doing the 1915 Birth of a Nation. It's silent, it's in black and white, and it's extremely racist. My stepdad always told me he was going to show it to us as kids, me, my brother, and sister, so we saw how it really was. Then again, he also believed the Confederacy won the Civil War. So, I don't know. Take that as it will. See you next week.